is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Isabel and Isha. These are texts and tweets and such from last night. Isabel and Isha said, "Evening, Nick. I had a dreadful morning because I've had 2 root canals. It took 3 hours. However, I was greatly cheered when I saw that King Charles was wearing a tie covered in the Greek flag while attending the COP. Oh. Phil in Lowestoft says, "Good evening, Nick. As it is pantomime season, this COVID inquiry fits the bill perfectly. It'll take 3 years to complete, resulting in no consequences at all for those culpable, other than lessons must be learned. What a farce. Is there a point to it?" Yes, of course there is a point to it. We must gather the evidence, and then there comes the punishment. And on that subject, Ben in Dorset says, "Nick, you are correct regarding the inquiry. Although no criminal proceedings will occur in the main inquiry, there may be further inquests and court hearings that will use evidence found in the main inquiry. See Hillsborough for further details." Correct, Amundo. And guess who's coming in next week?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Bodger Johnson. Mr. Blobby will next week admit that he unquestionably made mistakes. He'll do that Michael Gove sincere apology thing.
Major capital letters, big news story.
He said, Michael Gove said, "I want to take this opportunity, if I may, milady." He said that. "If I may, milady, I'd like to take this opportunity to apologise to the victims who endured and blah, blah, blah. Not actually my fault. Unprecedented circumstances. It would have been much worse under Labour. Vote Conservative." That's about it, ain't it, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
In his evidence to the COVID public inquiry, Mr. Blobby, the former Prime Minister, is expected to say that he and his government were initially far too complacent and vastly underestimated the risks posed by the virus. Despite being told about those risks over and over and over again. But, gadzooks, paw, ruffled hair, where am I? And so on, until the end of the Peer Act that he uses as a deflector shield runs out. He will argue, and it's extraordinary that we know what is going to happen before it happens. These are forthcoming attractions. He's going to argue that he had a basic confidence that things would turn out all right. Oh, yeah, we didn't. He had a basic confidence on the fallacious logic that previous health threats such as BSE and SARS had not proven as catastrophic as feared. Well, I've got one thing that would prove as catastrophic as feared. And I think it means that he was just winging it. He had a basic confidence that things would turn out all right on the fallacious logic that previous health threats such as BSE and SARS had not proven catastrophic as feared. So he was just winging it. Or coasting on benefits, as I believe is the regime's new phrase. And after the apology, that will be about as believable as anything else he's ever said, he'll go on to be clear that no one could have done better. All in the best interests of hard-working people doing the right thing. And that if he ruffles his hair just so, we'll remember what an absolute wheeze he is and want him back. That about right, Bodge? Yes. He's expected to say, overall, the government succeeded in its aim of preventing the NHS from being overwhelmed by making the right decisions at the right time. And if you believe that, I have a genuine made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. He will insist that all 3 lockdowns came at the right time. And in the process, the government saved tens, if not hundreds of thousands of lives. In other words, don't concentrate on all the people that died. Look at those that didn't die. And remember how lucky you are to have been one of them. I mean, look at me, he'll say. Me, in charge. We're lucky the whole country didn't burst into flames and flip upside down and sink. Which it would have done under a coalition of chaos, of course. He will emphasise the success of the vaccine programme. Of course he will. And he'll pull out that old line about it only being possible because he got Brexit done. Which, despite being debunked as a flat-out lie, is still being repeated by the Tories to this day. Tetchy said it in Parliament just recently. We can only do it because we left the EU, Mr. Speaker. Bodger will argue that while the country's death toll was shocking, Britain had defied the most gloomiest of predictions and ended the pandemic well down the global league table of excess mortality. No, I believe we were top of the league for excess mortality. I don't think that any developed country on Earth suffered more excess deaths than we did per head of population. According to the WHO, no, not them, the World Health Organization, only the United States, with 331 million people, China with 1.4 billion people, India with 1.4 billion people, and Russia with 143 million people, and Mexico with 126 million people, only those countries had a worse death count than we did. And we've got half the number of people as Mexico and 20 times fewer people than China or India. By the way, never take any health advice from the WHO, the band, and never buy a CD from the World Health Organization. Rock and roll! To avoid disappointment. Johnson announced the inquiry 2.5 years ago, presumably in an off-the-cuff moment when he wasn't thinking quite how bad he would look. Maybe he was drunk at the time. Booze. Up all night having one of those important business meetings. I mean, history didn't take very long to make up its mind about this bloke, did it?
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Precisely. People are calling his appearance at the inquiry a pivotal moment. That is assuming he actually shows up and isn't cruelly taken ill. You know, like that Simon Case bloke, our most senior official, who can't come to the inquiry because he's ill. He's got a sick note. Till next year, apparently.
What?
He's ill till next year. Huh. Maybe the Home Office should have one of their operatives pop round to check whether he's coasting on benefits or is actually sick. And if Mr. Blobby does show up, no doubt he'll face the usual accusations that are levelled at him, that of indecision and overseeing a toxic culture of infighting and chaos in Downing Street. I mean, honestly, who could have predicted that Bodger would preside over chaos, apart from anyone that has ever seen or heard him? Blobby is expected to reject claims that he presided over a dysfunctional regime, arguing that tensions between departments were actually useful and that our system really works. Yeah, it works as well as his hair gel, which is to say, not at all. His statement is set to barely mention Dominic... You know Dominic Cummings? No! That's right. Yeah, he doesn't know him anymore. Barely mentioning him, he will. Barely mention him, he will. God, now I've turned into Yoda. Barely mention him, he will. Get Gordon Brown on the phone and we'll make a Star Wars remake. He's not going to mention Dominic Cummings at all. Have you heard? His former senior advisor, his Bezzy mate, and one of his most high-profile critics now. He will apparently give his full support to Matt Hancock. What? Good grief. The former health secretary, while others have repeatedly accused Hancock of lying, Johnson will say that he was doing a very good job in difficult circumstances. Leave him alone. He was doing his best. Good grief. This bloke used to be the leader of this country. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean, do you get the feeling that there is something of a circling of the wagons here? I mean, the press, they're playing their part, trying to dismiss the inquiry, and the people who are speaking on behalf of those who are under investigation, their voices are getting ever more shrill, trying to dismiss the inquiry. Too expensive, they say, as though they're remotely concerned about how to spend the money that we poor dopes who pay taxes give over, you know.
The little people. But it ain't like you think. It ain't leprechauns, don't you see? It's little men from Mars or somewhere. And it ain't a toadstool they're under. It's a spaceship.
It's taken too long, this inquiry, they say, as though they're concerned that it's taken up time that they could spend working for the benefit of the country. It's all ancient history, they say, as though any crime that happened in the past should be forgotten, which would, of course, include all crimes. And when that lot of excuses don't work, they'll fall back on, oh, look, a dinghy. Or there's Rachel Reeves' legs. She's flaunting them again.
Disgusting.
Or there's Meghan Markle. I mean, just about anything to get us to think of something other than this catastrophic clown show that's been running this country into the ground for the past 13 years while making out like bandits. And a spokesman for Johnson said, Boris Johnson will be at the COVID inquiry next week and is looking forward to assisting the inquiry with its important work. Yeah, and in the meantime, I would imagine he'll be surrounded by about 86,000 lawyers and PR people and reputation managers and speech coaches and the rest trying to get him to remember his lines. And in the end, the lesson will be that we should think twice about electing a funny bloke off the telly to be our leader. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
The whole world has, in fact, gone crazy. Texts and tweets and such from last night. We were discussing... Well, I wasn't, but somebody called in and said, blooming civil servants, they lounge around all day in their pyjamas, smoking drugs and listening to rap music. They should get back in the office and get on with their work, or words to that effect. And this got various people's backs up. Lucy in Balham texted, Ahmed, that was his name, needs to remember it's hard for the civil service to deliver their objectives when they're woefully underfunded, even if they're office-based. Anyway, look at how well the Tories' private sector cronies delivered on their goals to deliver effective PPE during the pandemic. Which is two unconnected thoughts, but I can't disagree with either of them. This one says, when your last caller, this yesterday now, when that caller was at the beach during the lockdown enjoying furlough payments, civil servants who didn't qualify for furlough payments were working. And this text says, oh my God, that guy just going on about... oh my God, that guy just going on about the civil service. There's not enough desk space for coming into the office. They're asked to hot desk and book desk space. The hot desk and book desk space, not hot desk and book desk space. It's not book desk space is not hyphenated. Idiot. Have you heard? They're asked to hot desk and book desk space. Not enough desks for everyone. If this guy wants, he can apply for a job into the sea service. 3 exclamation marks, like he's shouting. Some of it made sense, but, he's just... he was very, very emotional when he wrote that text. Because if there's one thing that civil servants do not stand for, it's being criticised. Makes them very angry. This text says, while this riveting COVID investigation is going on, I hear that China has another virus spreading rapidly throughout the country. Another virus spreading rapidly throughout China? He said, will we have learned the lessons in time to cope with this virus if it should ever reach our shores? Well, let me think about that.
No.
Of course not. The only thing that we ever learn from history is that nobody ever learns anything from history. Of course we're not going to be prepared when the next virus comes around. I just hope that it's not in my lifetime, that's all. I don't think I can stand going through that again. I think that we got off pretty lightly, actually, even though we did have a catastrophic clown show running this country at the time.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I do actually think that we got off pretty lightly. Not that I'm an expert on this or any other matter. But it seems to me that a virus that could have, if it had been SARS or what the other one was, one of them bat diseases, if it had been like a 30% death rate, can you imagine? Oh, my God, can you imagine? It was 1% and this entire country ground to a halt. And it was revealed in stark contrast what a dismal bunch we have running this shop. And they still haven't got their act together. They're still flailing around trying to distract us by, pointing at Meghan Markle or small boats or, whatever the thing of the day is. It was nicking tents off the homeless, which sort of came and went in a week of frothing outrage. And what was the last one? I forget. There's just been so many. Oh, yeah, sending migrants to the Faroe Islands or something like that. I don't know, whatever 30p came out with last. He's just being employed as a distraction engine. Just keep us occupied and angry about something other than the regime, and that'll do them just fine. Darrell in Hove says, how dare you suggest that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor's actions during the pandemic might have been criminal? They both paid their £50 fines in full and on time. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the matter. Well, you make a good point. 0345 6060 973. Seattle. Hello, Phil.
Hey, Nick.
Phil.
So, I just wanted to let you know, I don't know whether you're aware, because I know that sometimes you don't even know where your own comments come from.
Phil, I don't even know where I am. What day is it?
Well, here or there?
Well, now that's a very, very deep question. Wow, I'm going to have to contemplate that for a couple of hours. Here or there or anywhere. Wow. My mind is spinning right now.
Groovy.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you often say, any fool know that.
Yes.
Are you aware of where you got that from?
Yes.
Nigel Molesworth,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
Well,
By the way, Phil, point of order. Are you speaking to me on a landline?
No, I'm speaking to you on on Skype, actually.
On Skype?
Hold on, just 1 second.
No,
though.
that's fine. Don't change a thing, because it sounds like you're in the room next door. Whereas when I speak to somebody on a phone in a room next door, it sounds like they're calling me from a submarine.
Ah, well, I guess everything about America is better then, I suppose.
Well, not necessarily just America, though. I think it's not that America is better, it's just that we seem to be worse in every regard. All of the infrastructure in this country is either broke, on fire, or sinking.
It's very true. It's very true. So when you were speaking to this woman yesterday about St. Trinians, that is what finally inspired me to call you, because I think it's the same author, certainly the same artist, right?
It's not Roald Dahl, is it? Ronald Searle.
Ronald Searle.
Yeah, that's right. Ronald Searle. Yes. Get it right.
Wasn't me, mate. Also, I don't like Pink Floyd. I just want you to know that too.
What?
Because you're always banging on about them. Yeah, well, I'm an old school punk rocker, so Johnny Rotten's I Hate Pink Floyd t-shirt had a great effect on me at the age of 10.
But that's a silly thing to say. Like, you can't...
Well, I'm a silly person.
Well, you can't like different genre. I hate that word. Genres of music. You can't like different genres of music. I like every genre, not everything within each genre, but all genres are up for your approval. You should take something from all of them, Phil.
I absolutely agree. I think opera is about the only thing I haven't found that I like something from.
Correct.
But not Pink Floyd. They're not a genre. They're a band, mate. Get it right.
Yeah, well, the genre is classic rock, I would suggest. I mean, you could make it into a more defined genre within a genre, which would be, what do they call it?
Hippie nonsense?
No. No, not hippie nonsense. They call it, what do they call it? Like Pink Floyd and Genesis and Focus and all of those bands. They call it prog rock, baby.
Prog rock,
yeah,
exactly.
prog rock. That's right, yes.
Hippie nonsense. Yeah, like I said.
All right, I want you to hang your head in shame, Phil. I see you, and I can hear you loud and clear, coming in loud and clear as a bell. All the way from Seattle, can you believe that? 6,000 miles away, and if I take a call on a mobile phone from somebody down the road here, I won't be able to understand a word they say. I am stunned. Does anything in this country work? Serious question. Does anything in this country work? I mean, I know I've asked a similar question. What's better now than it was before the Tories took over 13 dismal years ago, and I haven't had one single solitary response. But does anything in this country actually work anymore? I mean, like the trains, for instance. And don't talk to me about strikes, because that ain't got nothing to do with it. In fact, if it weren't for the people that were striking, we wouldn't have a blooming train system in this country. No, you get on a train and you cross your fingers and you think, well, maybe it'll get there. Who knows? Maybe it'll get there and maybe it won't. God, my brother had a hellish journey of a lifetime just recently. He tried to get from one side of the country to the other. Now, I know that going up and down is easier than going from side to side. But really, the train's supposed to come every hour, and they cancelled the first train, of course, because, why wouldn't they? And then they cancelled the second train, and they cancelled the third train. So that's 3 hours he was sitting there waiting for a blooming train to come. And the fourth train, of course, they did put on, but it was only half the size of a normal train. So they had 4 trains worth of people squeezed into half a train. And he finally made a journey that should have taken about 2 hours, and it was like 6 hours later he finally arrived alive. And then doing the same journey back again about 2 days later, they cancelled the first train because, why wouldn't they? And then they cancelled the second train. They cancelled the third train actually showed up. And he had to change trains about halfway, on a station about halfway along in, I've got no idea, Podunk, Cumbria, somewhere like that. No idea. And so we got on the third train after they cancelled the first 2 trains. Keep in mind that it took him 6 hours to do the first journey that should have taken maybe 2, if that. And so we got on the third train that actually, it was a miracle. The third train that showed up, and he thought, well, it's not that bad. I'll just make my change and I'll be back home, in Toot Sweet. And he got on the train, and then they announced, this train is now no longer stopping at Podunk, Cumbria. And so they sailed straight by the station that he was supposed to get out and catch his connecting train, and he ended up in Manchester. Wherever that is. Nothing works in this country anymore. I took a train journey myself just the other day, and it was supposed to end in Euston. And they said, this train is no longer going to Euston. We will now end in Flint or somewhere like that. For your convenience. And so I tried to get, I thought, oh, well, you know what? I'll just try and get a refund. And in order to get a refund, you look up their website and it says, simply do the following, which always rings alarm bells in my mind.
Warning, warning.
Every time you see the word simply, then the following procedure is not simple. It's mind-bendingly complicated. And it just isn't worth your time. I mean, the time that it took me to get the £6 that they say they may pay me in 20 days, my actual time must have cost 10 times that amount in order to get that small, piddlingly minute sum back from them. But, I'm not complaining or anything.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Nothing in this country nothing in this country works anymore, including me. And did I hear on the news, right, that Cumbria is closed because of a light dusting of snow? Yeah, I heard that the snow is almost over the top of your shoes. It's a catastrophe. Every time there's a slight mizzle, then the drains overflow and the roads become lakes. Nothing in this country works anymore. And it's all thanks to the Conservative government, who have been running this country in the manner to which they have become accustomed for the last nigh on 14 years. Isn't that right, Fish?
This government.
Carlin Hailsham says, you've said many times that the Bodge shut down the organisation or government body responsible for pandemics. I haven't heard that come up yet, despite everybody blaming each other for everything. If what you've said is true, shouldn't that be almost certainly an open and shut case? We failed in many ways during the pandemic, but it all surely comes from the Prime Minister shutting down the important group that would see it and help us. I don't know what's what anymore, says Carl. He doesn't know what's what or who's who or where's where. Yeah, Bodger, about 6 months. It's almost as though he had foresight and moved to screw this country over ahead of time. About 6 months before the COVID pandemic happened, I do believe that he closed down the body whose responsibility it was to plan for a pandemic. Yeah. I know. I know. I mean, I don't wish to be unkind, but...
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Shut down the government body that's supposed to plan for a pandemic. Great big greedy nincompoop. And we will be hearing a lot of him this coming week. I would say I can't wait, but I can. If I never see him or hear from him or about him again, it won't be too soon.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin, and we're taping our next episode tomorrow.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, the idea is that we solve people's problems. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you must send it to the following address: nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com, and prepare for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? We've almost done 200 episodes. Too many to actually sit there and count up. It is more or less 200 episodes, and as a special, more or less 200th episode treat, we have a special announcement. But I haven't discussed it with her yet, so she might not like it. But I'm going to blurt it out anyway on a forthcoming podcast. But we're taping tomorrow, so if you want your issue solved, toot sweet, then send it to nickandcarol@global.com. and ask for the podcast by name. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? It'll be on an internet near you. Martin emails, I'm already sick of Christmas and it's all your fault. What? He says, I won't blame Jeremy Corbyn because he gets blamed too often, although he's probably got something to do with it. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jezza Corbyn. No! You see what you've done? Lou says, my birthday is the 31st of December. It's an awful day for a birthday. As a kid, everyone gives me presents saying Happy Christmas and birthday. That's terrible. Really? What, just the one present? He says people usually go broke or ill. People are usually broke or ill around then. Don't recommend it. Go for midsummer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like people have a choice. And Clive tweets, I'm still going through last night's before I get to tonight's, which are already started coming. Oh, good grief. How am I going to get through these? Clive tweets, hi, Nick. Sad to report it's overcast and only 25 degrees centigrade here in Sydney. Guess I'll have to go fishing rather than sunbathe. Yes, thank you, Clive, but we don't wish to know that. Look at that switchboard. Absolutely dead. There's like tumbleweeds blowing through that switchboard. Is this thing on? Hello? Karina texts, hi, Nick, I spent 25 years not flying due to fear. Oh, I was talking to somebody last night who was not only frightened of flying, but frightened of trains. I mean, well, specifically of going under the channel in the tunnel. I suppose I get that. But, it was put up by... They didn't just knock it up. It wasn't some bloke with a fag hanging out his mouth who put it together with super glue. Experts built that tunnel. Anyway, she says, I spent 25 years not flying due to fear. I don't like tunnels and boats. I went on a British Airways Confidence in Flying course in October. I'm now managing to get on a plane. I flew to Tuscany in May and will be flying to Naples next month. I know this is October 2022, she went. I'll be flying to Naples next month. I know going to Naples in January might sound odd, but it'll be warm and dry to me as I live in Glasgow. Yeah, well, I bet. I can check on that while you wait. One moment, please. What? It's not raining in Glasgow now, or tomorrow, or Monday or Tuesday. It's going to be sunny on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday in Glasgow. Pfft, rubbish. Misty on Wednesday. Thursday raining, Friday raining, Saturday raining, Sunday raining, Monday the 11th raining, Tuesday or the 12th it'll be raining, and then the following Wednesday it'll be raining, and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday. Every day for the rest of your life. But you got 3 days to dry out. And I wish you the best of luck with that. I don't know if actually, here's a call. I don't know if I want to take it now. Kensington, Hassan.
Hello, Nick. Hi. Yes, I think we should commemorate the death of Henry Kissinger, the world's #1 war criminal. He finally left this world. I mean, this is a gentleman who sort of personally identified 3,785 air raids in terms of which way to drop bombs on a country called Cambodia, against which the Americans never declared a war.
Yeah.
And then...
He came in low out of the rising sun, and about a mile out, he turned on the music.
Exactly. And I think, but what is even more amazing is that he has been sought after by all sorts of world leaders. I mean, Hillary Clinton was proud to call him a friend, Tony Blair, you name it. Everybody sought him out as some sort of incredibly
like a diplomat. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And I think I think we now need to go around looking for who's the greatest war criminal still alive. And I think...
Yeah, well, it's a toss-up. There's a couple of names that are occurring to me right now, but I decided not to blurt them out because of the reaction that might ensue.
No, of course. I think we can play it safe and call Putin, but then Netanyahu...
Root and tootin', As long as you don't stand near any windows or, touch any doorknobs or drink any tea, then you'll be just fine, yeah.
No, exactly. But then we have so many of our own, like Mr. Blair and Bush.
You're going to blurt them out anyway. George Bush, you say?
Absolutely,
yeah.
And T. Blair, I mean, one of our own, right? And he's still always trying to come in for a new one.
Well, the thing with being the leader of a Western country, particularly America and this country, is if you hang around long enough, you will be responsible for starting a war. Yeah, you absolutely will. Yeah. All right, but I don't think that I'm too upset to see Henry Kissinger go.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's another one bites the dust. All right, thanks a lot, Hassan. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, it didn't seem to be a very positive influence to me. But then what do I know about this or any other subject? This email says, which Carolina did James Taylor have on his mind, north or south? Good point. Good question. I'm going to look into that. In my mind, I'm going to Carolina, he sang. But which one, James Taylor? Be specific. Martin emails, the UK, yesterday I was asking what the UK leads the world in, and absolutely no response of any kind whatsoever, apart from this one singular solitary email. Martin says the UK leads the world in having delusions of grandeur. Yeah, that's about right. Marnie in Glastonbury says, I'm an oldish person, but I sincerely want to thank you for defending Meghan Markle. It was great to hear. Well, was I defending Meghan Markle? I mean, not necessarily sticking up for her, just like batting back the sort of word from the right-wing press that is just constantly going on and on and on about her. I mean, it just seems like an obsession, a weirdly, fervid, is that the right word? Fervid obsession. Fervid. Is that, in fact, a word? Now I'm saying it and thinking about it, it doesn't actually sound right. Fervid. Oh, message coming in from next door. F-E-R-V-A-N. Fervent. Fervent. What's fervid? Look it up. He's looking it up right now. Message coming in. Not W-Q-O-R-D. Not a word. Fervid. I'm going to look that up myself. Not a word, my eye. What does he know? I've got a different internet I'll look it up on. F-E-R-V-I-D. There you are, you see? Intensely enthusiastic. See? You got that wrong. See me after class. Fervid. I was right. No, now he's arguing with me. That's fervent. No, look it up. Fervid. See?
No, I shan't. I refuse.
No, there's only one of us can refuse to do homework on this show, and that's me. Fervid. I was completely correct in every respect. You're welcome.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Holland Park. Nick.
Oh, hi, Nick. Shall we do King Charles or Henry Kissinger?
We?
You and I, what shall we discuss?
Are the topics related in any way?
In no way whatsoever.
Okay, excellent.
Other than both being kings of comedy.
I'm not sure about that. Not actually sure about that, but go ahead. Let's do the briefer one first.
Henry Kissinger, the first thing that should occur to anyone with a sense of humour is that he has 2 mentions in 40 Towers.
Does he?
He does.
Go on.
The episodes. Gourmet episode with the awful family complaining about there not being any salad cream. I think he says something like, reserved only for when Henry Kissinger calls him. And could it be this? No, different episode. The gourmet evening when Kurt the chef is drunk and Sybil says, who's drunk? And he says, Henry Kissinger, who do you think? Anyway, it's very funny. Those who love it, I mean, meaningless if you don't like 40 Towers, but I'm a 40 Towers devotee.
I am surprised because there's no programme, I think, in the history of television that I've seen more frequently than Fawlty Towers, and I don't recall those lines, but I'll take your word for it.
Abbot, 2 mentions. Look it up on Basil Fawlty famous quotes, Henry Kissinger, you'll find them on
I most
YouTube.
certainly will do nothing of the sort. Go ahead.
I bet you do, though, secretly in the next commercial break.
Bet I don't.
I bet you do.
And the other one?
Oh, well, King Charles, what to say? I mean, really, what an ongoing joke. And, of course, you're right about I'm not sure it's the right-wing press always bigging up. It's a kind of... It's not so much that they're dissing Meghan Markle, it's just that they're bigging up whoever's actually in charge, Queen Elizabeth, King Charles, whoever it is. Because, of course, they're all after their OBEs and CBEs. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
I don't know. I mean, when it takes, when the mood takes them, they lash out at the royal family like you wouldn't believe. But it's as though that they have. It's as though they have reserved the right to do that solely for themselves, and anybody else that does it is unpatriotic.
Yeah, no, I still say that not to the monarch though. It's the kind of peripheral royals they lash at. But and anyway, the thing is, on the other hand, you're a man that sticks to his principles, and that's fantastic. And you can guarantee your OBE is not in the post. Okay, I look forward to not receiving it. Thanks a lot, Nick. You see what I mean about like 6,000 miles away? I had a phone call from a guy, although it was on Skype. Never mind. He was using a phone. 6,000 miles away, I spoke to somebody in Seattle, and it came in clear as a bell. And there's a bloke just down the road in Holland Park, and I could barely hear a word he said. See what I'm saying? Nothing in this country works. This text says, what do we lead the world in? We lead the world in the amount of sewage that flows into our rivers.
Disgusting.
Yes, we do. Oh, bad news about tap water. Did you read about that? You might want to hold off on making that tea. Right, what did you say about somebody wants to correct me?
Ellie in Camden.
Ellie in Camden, right. Ellie in Camden.
Hello, Nick, wherever you are.
I'm here.
I didn't want to correct you. I wanted to suggest,
yes.
I think the word you were looking for was not fervid, but turgid.
Turgid?
The press after Sparkles is turgid.
No, fervid.
No, there's no such word as fervid. There's fervent.
I am looking at the dictionary as we speak. Fervid.
What does it say?
Fervid. Adjective. Intensely enthusiastic or passionate, especially to an excessive degree.
Is it a real word?
You just heard me define it.
Yes, but I'm disagreeing with you because it's embarrassing that I got it wrong.
Yeah, well, you just had to add that to life's little disappointments, Ellie. Including amongst which are living in Camden, by the way.
I don't know what to say about that. I think I'd rather live here than Leicester Square, but then you don't actually live there.
No one
but you
lives there,
actually were much better tempered. Mm-hmm. Not that you're bad tempered when you had to change the light all the time. You used to have a light that would go out.
I recall, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yes, of course I remember. I was sitting here when it happened.
That was when I first started to listen to you.
Right, and that was when I was better tempered. Well, you know, there were better times, weren't they? We didn't. We probably hadn't elected in the catastrophic clown show.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It was probably a previous iteration. Anyway, thanks a lot, Ellie. Cheers, my dear. Fervid. Right, I want you to write that down. Fervid. Fervid. Have we done the ads yet? No. I know.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yeah, sure you did, Bodge. Sure you did. Sandra in Reading says, I'm 66 years old. So she says, you would say that I am old, I suppose, but I love Prince Harry for his personality. I didn't vote for Brexit, and I only once voted Conservative, and I'm still trying to live it down. Why are you anti-oldie? No, I'm not. She says, I live in a tiny flat with my son, and I don't have lots of money, says Sandra. 3 exclamation marks, like she's shouting at me. Very intemperate old person. I'm not anti-old. I'm just anti what they tend to vote for when they go to drag their flat shoes into the cardboard. Never mind. Plywood booth. This text says we lead the world. I've read that one. Amount of sewage in our rivers. Yeah, I've read that one. John says, in which speciality does the United Kingdom lead the world? Answer, the UK leads the world in the manufacture of quality insect specimen storage boxes. Which sounds like the sort of thing that ChatGPT would come up with. We lead the world in the manufacture of quality insect specimen storage boxes. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Now I know where to go if ever I'll need one, which should be never. Woldingham. David.
Oh, hi, Nick. I heard your comments about the railways not running, and really the collapse of society as we know at the moment. I was going to give you 2 examples.
Yes.
One is the obvious one, privatisation of the post office. From where we are, in fact, it's Warlingham, not Woldingham, that's close by, but on Monday it'd be 2 weeks since all of us around here have had no post delivered at all.
Really?
Yes. And
why is that?
Well, when I phoned up the head office, I got a really incredible response. After he made some investigations, he said the post is all piled up in sacks through lack of staff. And I said, could I go down and pick my post up? He said, well, basically it wouldn't be in your pigeonhole because they're all actually in sacks. So whenever we're going to receive our post, I don't know, and I'm waiting for something quite urgent. That's one example. Can I just give you the second one? HMRC. I don't know if anybody's had this problem. I'm a pensioner. I receive 2 pensions. Very basic, simple to work out your tax when you're only receiving a pension. I've had a letter from HMRC saying I've underpaid tax by £1,055. And the letter's almost like accusing me of not paying when it's their job to collect tax, not for me to pay it. I've written to my MD about this. Now, I want to know how, on a simple occupational pension and state pension, how they can't work out your tax and collect it. And to make matters worse...
It's worse?
I got a pay advice from my local government pension. I've got a tax rebate of £592 in the same month as they tell me I owe £1,055. Now, I don't know if it's people working from home or a cut in funding to the tax office, lack of staff, but everything doesn't seem to work anymore.
Nothing works anymore. No, that is completely correct, yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck with all of that, David. Of course, if you don't pay and the HMRC send you a now we're going to take you to court letter, you won't receive it because the postman isn't delivering. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. I wish you all the best with that, David. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. Talking of faulty towers. I parked my car next to it's in a parking spot that I have been parking in for pretty much the entire time that I've been on this station. It's a top secret parking space that I'm surprised is still vacant every time I park there, because it's very, very near London's fashionable Charing Cross. And some of the road is a dropped curb. Now, recently, the building that the dropped curb is by has been completely vacated, and part of it's been knocked down. It's pretty much not there anymore. And for the first time in about 10 years of parking in this same spot, I got a blooming parking ticket when I came back. And the parking ticket had been put on my car at 5 minutes past 1 in the morning.
What?
What kind of a parking warden mooches about giving people parking tickets at 1 o'clock in the morning, by the way? What's the point? Why? For what reason? I mean, there's no traffic. It's a road that nobody ever goes down other than to park their car. Anyway, so I write them a letter, of complaint, suggesting that they might have got this wrong, because the building isn't there anymore. It has not been occupied for many years. It's just derelict. So there's no earthly reason why there should be a dropped curb for that building, because there's nobody that goes in or out of there ever. I mean, the windows are boarded up. It's a deserted building. What is actually left of it, and the rest of it has been taken down. It's just a vacant lot. And so I wrote them back saying, there's no point for there to be a dropped curb there. This is just a silly thing to fine me for, because I'm not blocking anybody going in or out, which is the point of putting a ticket on me if I park in front of a dropped curb. And they said, we thank you for your this information. We will get back to you within, I think it was like 20 working days, something like that. Like 2 months later, nothing. And then I get a letter that says, we have not heard from you. Now, the point at which you can pay half of your fine has gone, which is a cute way of saying that it's not half the fine. It's that you don't get a discount of 50% if you pay early, which is what they're trying to make you believe. They double it if you don't pay early. That's actually what's happening. So the point at which I could pay half of it has gone, and now they're going to charge me double for not having got in touch with them. But I did about 2 months ago, and they emailed me back saying, thanks for the update, mate, and we'll get back to you. And they didn't, and now they're going to fine me for that. God. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Every time I go back to my car, I'm astonished that it's still there, that some council bod hasn't come along and just picked it up and taken it away and crushed it for, parking illegally on a leaf. Anyway, 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
Words, more words.
Wow, £100 million we're giving to, third world countries in order so that they can mitigate the effects of the climate change that we in the West are causing. £100 million. Wow, that's amazing. They'll be able to buy 3 flotation devices and a whistle to attract attention. Are you kidding me? 100 million. I bet Titchy's shoe size spent more than £100 million on a private jet going to COP. I can't believe it. That's not a donation. That's an insult. That is. I mean, it would make my life more significantly better if they gave the £100 million to me. But, you know, giving the third world about the same amount that you could win on the lottery as a fillip to make the global warming changes that will be impacting them, to make it ameliorate those issues, then, I mean, come on, that's just having a laugh, ain't you? Claire says, I'm astonished that you have been brainwashed by H&M. By which she doesn't mean the clothes shop, she means Hazza and Sparkles. I thought you were an intelligent person, but your ignorance has really shown through this evening, says Claire. She left this country when she realised that one day she would have to curtsy to William and Catherine. A, should have done her homework before joining the royal family, and B, she is experienced at shunning blood relatives and was determined to break Harry's bond with his family. Does not want to be part of the royal family, but bellyached when she thought her children would not receive a royal title. Double standards, wise up Nick, says Claire. I'll sum up that text for you. Chris in Stubbington says, if Rishi Sunak wants to make people feel better, how about taking the energy companies to task? They slightly reduced the unit rate and jacked up the standing charge. Heating has become a luxury. They are taking us for fools. And the energy companies are sat on £8 billion worth of customers' money. Is that right? 8 billion? Good grief. 0345 6060 973. North Carolina. Graham.
James Taylor.
Yes.
Father became the dean of a university in North Carolina in Chapel Hill back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess he was singing about North Carolina. But I think he was actually singing about some chick he met somewhere.
Chick?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
a chick,
it must have been a chick in the 1970s, because that's when chicks were
right.
around. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
In my mind,
I'm
going to Carolina. Something, la 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 la. Yeah, that.
Dribble.
It's not dribble. It's not dribble. It's a beautiful song.
It's dribble.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Now, in regard to North Carolina and South Carolina, I believe it had something to do with domestic indentured servants. That there was a split between the two states, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you mean they were either side of the Civil War? Were they?
No, because the Civil War started in Charleston, South Carolina. In general, when they were forming the way back when, before the Revolution, there was something going on, and I don't know what it was.
Well, you certainly have cleared that up for us, Graham.
Well, I'm glad. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for.
Is this you helping?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. No. Okay. Better luck next time.
And, 6 inches of snow.
Yeah.
I think that what they call the Buffalo snowstorm up in Detroit and Buffalo, New York, and upstate New York had 24 inches of snow. So,
yeah. Well, that's other countries. We're not talking about other countries.
In Atlanta, Atlanta, if it rains, everything closes down. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's just extraordinary that, the slightest icing sugar dusting of snow in this country can just close everything off. Other countries seem to be able to cope with what is really predictable weather, but it seems winter seems to take us by surprise every single year.
Well, your yeehaws speed up when it gets like that.
Yeah,
but you mentioned that last week, I think. They go nuts in there.
Yeah. In order to be safe, speed up really fast.
Yeah, faster. Really fast.
Tailgate.
And then hit the brakes really hard. When you go over the black ice, just hit the brakes really hard.
That's right. Yeah, this is all very, very good advice. I want you to write this stuff down, people. Thanks a lot, Graham. 0345 6060 973. David says, all your regular listeners will know that you prefer post-Peter Gabriel Genesis, but have you heard his new album, I/O? What does that mean? What does that mean? Or is that the name of his album?
It's the title of the album, mate.
I/O? Mm-hmm. That's a terrible name for an album. God, that's like something that that ginger-headed crooner. What's his name? That ginger-headed guy. Huh?
Oh, sorry.
What's his name? The ginger-headed guy?
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, yeah. That's like something that Ed Sheeran would come... Or Coldplay, rather. I/O. What does that mean? He says, I can't stop listening to it, says David. Well, force yourself, David. Stop moaning and just stop it. Press stop on the on your machine there. And it will cease, I promise you. David says, the last person I ever expected to see grace our presence again was David Cameron. It took me the best part of 3 years to recover from the photographs of him in his black jumpsuit surfing on Cornwall Beach. I still have nightmares about it, he says.
I think this is nonsense.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there's a tool, there's a shed... Oh, no, never mind. I screwed that one up. Never mind. It'll all come out in the wash. Cheem. Hello, Sue.
Oh, hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello, Nick. How are you, darling?
Great, mate.
Good. Well, the reason that I've been galvanised to call you was that once again I'm hearing on the radio, it was Nick Ferrari advertising the show and saying about Boris Johnson, the virus almost killed Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Now, being a suspicious individual, when Boris went into hospital on the pretext of having the virus, I was very curious to see if he actually had it at all, or if he was very ill with it. And the thing I couldn't find out was, or one thing I did find out, was that he wasn't put on a ventilator machine, which, to me, when you're on a ventilator, that shows how serious the condition is. So at no time did I believe that he was close to death. Anyway, I won't go there because that would be nasty. But at the same time, now I'm hearing that the virus almost killed him from all different directions.
Yes.
It's like they're rinsing him to bring him back.
Yes, they're trying to create and I hate this word more than genre, narrative. They're trying to create a narrative in order to make us feel sorry for him and not accuse him of any of the things that he's guilty of.
Exactly. Well, as I say, as I'm such a suspicious person, I really thought that, as I say, he only went in there just to cover himself so that with all the people dying and everything going horribly wrong, that he could say, well, I caught it too, so I'm like you, we're all in the same boat type of thing.
Well, it sounds like just another fridge. He hid in a fridge and then he hid in a hospital in order to escape scrutiny.
Exactly. And can I say one more thing?
One more thing.
Yeah, you're talking about getting a parking fine.
Yes.
Were you actually on, where the drop curb was?
Yeah.
Were you actually on the drop curb? Or
No.
not on it, but were you by the drop curb?
Yes, I was, in front of it, yes.
Right. Well, can I just say, having been a victim of this, the drop curb is, it's working 24/7 because that drop curb is there for access to wheelchair users. So if you're blocking it, even if you've got 100 miles either end of the block curb, as far as I can make out from what happened to us, is that you're still liable to get a ticket. So I'm sorry,
it wasn't.
darling.
It wasn't there for wheelchair users. It was there to access a garage that is no longer in use because the building has been taken down.
Yes, I totally agree with you. But a drop curb is a drop curb, I think. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you can fight your battle with them. But, not a lot of people know this about drop curbs, so I thought I'd let you know.
Well, thanks for the update, mate.
That's all right, darling.
Cheers,
Have a good
Sue.
evening.
And you. Ta-da. She has a suspicious mind like Elvis Presley.
Rock and roll!
Martin texts, I had a crash on my mountain bike. Now that I'm the proud owner of a broken collarbone and 2 broken fingers. If there's a general election tomorrow, I'd struggle to vote. Well, if Rishi Sunak's face comes up on TV, you'd struggle to show your appreciation with 2 broken fingers. John says, Nick, if the COVID inquiry has a large refrigerator, they will find Boris the Fatal Johnson hiding inside it. Yeah, I think we just covered that, didn't we? It's spooky how that all seemed to align. Almost like the planets were trying to think of another word for aligning, but I can't. You know, they're in a line. They're aligning. East Yorkshire, hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick, yeah. Bring you back to Kissinger.
Oh, yeah.
Kissinger. There's been loads of wonderful reports about him from all sorts of
I know.
people.
What is that about? Yeah.
It's madness. This guy was a warmonger who portrayed himself as a peacemaker.
Yes.
And then a lot of the stuff that has been heaped on him as being great achievements was going and talking to Mao and turning the Chinese economy into a capitalist economy. And he must have been a pretty good talker because Mao believed him. And look at where we are with China now. China is one of the most aggressive capitalist threats.
Well, it's not exactly capitalist. It's a weird sort of it's like communist and with a capitalist fringe.
Yeah, and they're attacking the rest of the world in a capitalist way.
Yes.
What they do internally is different. And Kissinger is being heralded as a genius.
Yeah, I know. That just blows my mind. He's just one of the worst people who's ever lived. Plus, impossible to listen to. I mean, that voice of his is just absolutely painful. I mean, it makes my ears bleed just thinking about it.
Right. What he was a genius at was making people think he was a genius. And people like Mr. Blobby and Trump have followed suit.
Yeah,
they have convinced people that they're geniuses.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Mr. Blobby has convinced people that he's a genius.
Yeah. Wait.
I seriously doubt that.
They're trying to follow the same pattern. And why anyone would give this guy huge amount of respect for anything except self-promotion.
Yeah. I think he just lasted so long at the top of American politics, so that's why he's being, showered with encomiums. Is encomium the right word? Probably not.
He didn't last,
I'm going to look that up.
So long. He's not been in politics since 1977. That's when he left politics, and people are still bowing down and going, "Oh, what a great guy!"
Yeah. Encomium, a speech or piece of writing that praises someone or something highly. I think I got that one right as well. Blimey, I am on a roll. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, the stuff I read about Kissinger this week, and then duly forgotten. I could write a pamphlet. John texts, "You are being too harsh. You will probably get there." Where? I am being too harsh. I will probably get there. Where? That's one of the most confusing things I've ever read in my life. What am I being harsh about, and where is it that I will probably get, John? Steph texts, what does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I've got my glamorous assistant next door who's putting up text, and even he doesn't know what they mean. I'm not sure I want to read that, because I don't know quite what that means. Something about Bodger's trousers.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Nobody wants to think about Bodger's trousers.
Disgusting.
Can you imagine? Ugh. Feeling bilious just having said it. Even Carrie doesn't want to deal with that whole area. And James says, "Wow, a station that isn't talking about Israel. Bliss." Well, take this opportunity to enjoy it, James.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Who do you think you're talking to?
I am talking to a bloke in Ipswich called Anthony. Anthony.
Hi.
Anthony.
First-time caller.
Good man.
I was going to talk about the weather in Ipswich, but I just wanted to mention, do you remember years ago when Tony Blair was the PM and David Cameron was the opposition?
Yes.
And on PMQs, Tony Blair made David Cameron look like an absolute idiot.
By doing what? During
PMQs, when David Cameron would stand up and Tony Blair just ripped him apart.
Right, you're going to have to be more specific. No, I don't remember that instance. No, but I get the drift. So, what's the weather like in Ipswich then, Anthony?
Terrible.
Terrible weather in Ipswich. Well, it's like winter outside. We want to wrap up warm.
Fog, unbelievable.
Yeah. Fog, frost, all of that stuff. Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, believable, actually. You know, it is December and all. Yeah. Okay. Great call. It was his first call. I can't wait to hear his second. Gail says, and while you're on about trains, on Wednesday, I got on a train in Newcastle destined for Manchester. We got to Leeds and there was an announcement that the train we were on was cancelled and everyone was binned off with no information of how to continue the onward journey. Do I write to Megan or Jeremy to complain? Because I'm still fuming, says Gail. Nothing in this country works anymore. Like nothing works anymore at all. You can't drive on the roads because the potholes are big enough to actually get you could lose your entire car in the potholes in the roads. It can't rain because the drains can't cope anymore. The slightest little bit of rain turns all of the roads into lakes. If it's too sunny, the trains can't work because it's the wrong type of heat. But nothing works anymore. Sam Batch, hello, John.
Johnson's up next week, isn't he? So
yes.
We're going to get an excess of
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
He's not the only one. They all do it.
Yeah, there'll be a moment that he loses his rag and he says something like,
"This is complete nonsense.
It's complete nonsense. You're accusing me of doing something that I actually did. How dare you?"
I'm hoping the bloke who not interrogate him.
Yeah, I hope he does interrogate him.
So do I. I hope he says to him, "Will you hurry up and answer the question?"
Yeah.
Instead of going, well, you know, and come on.
He will have got all of his answers straight ahead of time. I bet he's at this moment being coached by teams of people to get all his answers straight.
Yeah, all the ones who've been before him were all Conservative ministers who couldn't find the fault with the other minister. And
all of his mates in the press are writing stories about how what a waste of time this COVID inquiry is, and how dare they be so rude as to ask them impertinent questions, and and what about the money? It's costing too much money, they'll say, as though they could care less about the money.
Didn't he say the same thing about the inquiry into the parties?
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to investigate him. But that's going to cost too much money, isn't it?
Yeah. Plus, he followed the rules at all times.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
So, why bother investigating it? Because we heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Have you heard the news about the water, by the way? Like I said before, put off that cup of tea. Don't drink it yet. Not yet.
Warning.
I'll tell you about that in a minute. I also want to talk about Britain's top polling expert has said that Labour are getting it all wrong. He said,
No.
No, you're getting it all wrong, skier. Britain's top polling expert has stuck his oar in and told Sakir that he's getting it all wrong. So I'll talk about that and plenty else besides. And, whatever you want to chit-chat about, while away the night. Rose texts, regarding the Stones and the cold, I agree that... Hey, by the way, have you seen that the Rolling Stones are going on tour again?
What?
Again. They've just finished a tour and they're going out again. I mean, I know they have a fantastic new album out, and most bands who put an album of that quality out, not that there's many that could actually make an album of that quality, but those that could would want to get out there on the road and promote it straight away because of, all of that money, honey. You've got to get out there and promote it. because otherwise people won't hear it. But that's not the case with the Rolling Stones, because the album went straight in at number 1, and there can't be a single solitary person on earth that hasn't heard about it yet. But they're going out on tour again. I suppose that's just like going to work for them. You know, they've had a little bit of a holiday, and then they go back to work, I guess. Plus the adulation. But you think that after, 40, 60 odd years, that they'd get a bit bored of playing the same songs over and over and over again. I mean, suppose when you go out on stage and you think, well, I just got to stand here for 2 hours and I don't really need to learn my lines because, I've sung the same song and played the same song about 63 million times. So I don't need to remember anything anymore because it's just, it's all, it's like ingrained in the membrane, ingrained in the brain. But if I just stand here for 2 hours and get through it, then I'll make $1 million. It's probably something like that. It's about, I reckon it's about $1 million per show each. So, that would get you through the night, wouldn't it? Whatever gets you through the night. Anyway, Rose texts, regarding the Stones and the cold, I agree that Brown Sugar is superb in every way. One of the great lyrics, one of the greats, lyrics notwithstanding. It's freezing here, -6 this morning. It makes the mind spin as if you're drunk. Or is that just me? I think it's just you, Rose.
What?
I hit the wrong one. It's supposed to be this one.
Booze.
Yeah, that would have been better. Just you, Rose. Since 3 p.m. yesterday, I've had this, and it doesn't go when you finally get warm. One remains a basket case, I find, says Rose. It makes me tear up, the cold. Like I get like a tear in the eye. Pretty much like I get a tear in the eye when I watch that Repair show. I swear they deliberately pick all of those people in order to make you cry, don't they? And I'm blubbing there on the sofa. I'll have to stop watching that programme because it's just, it's affecting me emotionally.
Stop whining.
John says, when you leave, if you leave, where you'll end up, how long it'll take, when you'll get back, if you'll get back, what the announcements are saying, the contents of the onboard sandwiches, and sometimes you get a bonus night's accommodation on a train. What are you talking about? What does that mean? I mean, they're all bullet points. They've got a dot before each line. At first, it looks on the page like a poem. And it sort of reads like that, but it's one of those poems that doesn't rhyme. A bad poem. When you leave, if you leave, where you'll end up, how long it'll take, when you'll get back, if you'll get back, what the announcements are saying, the contents of the onboard sandwiches, and sometimes you get a bonus night's accommodation on a train. Oh, right. There was something I didn't read at the top of it. You're looking at the train service the wrong way. Think of it as a mystery tour and its amazing value. Almost everything is a mystery. And then the list. Now it makes sense. Yeah, I blame myself. No, Nick. Don't blame yourself. It was just very confusingly put down on screen. You're doing an excellent... In fact, you're doing your best. People should leave you alone.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's about that whole fervid issue, and it is dividing the nation. Highly controversial. Mick texts, fervent, Nick. Marion says, it's fervent. Isaac says, fervid. Rachel says, fervent is a synonym of fervid. Tell 'em, Nickers. Anyway, why would turgid be the word? Stupid woman, says Rachel. Stupid woman. In reference to a person that called some while ago. The listeners picking fights with each other now. Just take it from Michael Gove.
Calm down.
Tobes says, Nick, you're right about fervid. I've just looked it up in Virtue's dictionary. Way to go, dude.
Yowza.
That's what he says. Tobes. Tobes. Is that your name? And on the subject of Peter Gabriel, I/O stands for input-output, apparently, according to this person. But it is also the name of a moon of Jupiter. No, it isn't. Io is a moon of Jupiter. I/O is nothing of the sort. This says, Hey, that went away. Where did that go? Was I supposed to read that? Because you just took it off. No. I wasn't supposed to read that. Okay, well, I think the best policy, if you don't want me to read something, is to put it up on my screen. That should be the first thing that you do. Anytime you don't want me to read something, you should put it up on my screen. Okay, here's the news from Cumbria, wherever that is. Drivers have been told to only travel if necessary, with forecasters warning up to 15 centimetres of snow.
Oh, no.
15 centimetres. Now, let me see. I'll translate that from European surrender measurements to His Majesty's feet and inches. Now, you double it and add 32 to get feet from centimetres. So 15 times 2 is 40, and 40 plus 32 is 82. 82 feet of snow overnight in Cumbria. Can you believe that?
No.
The county's emergency services are engaged in a multi-agency response. Yeah, they're running around pulling their hair out.
Warning, warning.
This is what they said.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Julie Coldwell, who lives in the lake, says more than 100 cars have been ditched near Windermere as she posted on social media. It's awful here. Well, yeah. I mean, what with all the sewage in that lake? It must be the stench. Can you believe it? It comes as temperatures could drop to minus 12 C overnight, as forecasters warn that 15 centimetres of snow is possible in some areas tomorrow. And the Met Office are predicting the UK to be shrouded in a freezing fog with a 251-mile snowstorm that could sweep the nation tomorrow. What? Blimey. The forecaster said that Aberdeenshire, Moray and the Highland regions of Scotland land were likely to see the lowest temperatures of minus 12 possible in some of the valleys in these regions. But nobody actually lives in those regions except sheep. That's just a fact. And because this story is on the Mail Online, there follows about 56,000 pictures of snow, taken from people's bedroom windows, none of which are particularly interesting, but it takes up a lot of space on the internet. There's barely any room on the internet for anything else but pictures of snow taken from people's bedroom windows. And on and on and on it goes. Of course the authorities were completely taken by surprise with this perfectly normal winter weather. It shocks us every single year it happens. Manchester. Rick. Hey, Ricky, you're so fine. You blow my mind, Ricky.
Hi, Nick. It's a pleasure to speak to you, as always. I've been sitting here listening to the show, having a great time listening to it. I've written a load of notes, and I think it's just basically gibberish. So I think I'll start off with a bit of a tribute to your regular callers. Jonathan... Ranger, Jan, both Jans and Mike, I think are absolute legends, and I love listening to their regular contributions.
Right. I've never heard of any of those people. Carry on.
I'm terribly sorry. Thinking about the stuff that's been going on this week, you got Keir Starmer. He's getting quite a bit better at PMQs. His jokes are starting to land. I was really, I loved the bit about the reverse Midas touch and the linking in James Cleverley's comments, which I think was really... No, it was just...
I think that Fishy is he's sort of given up. This job is not as he imagined it would be. He thought it'd be as easy and a casual an affair as ordering a cashmere hoodie from a catalogue, but it's not turning out that way, is it, Tetchy?
Not in the slightest. Linking on neatly to that, it's, I think he's probably maybe the best value for money Prime Minister we've ever had in terms of memes and names. So we've got Tetchy Shortstack, God, there was Tetchy Fun Size.
Yeah. Titchy suit size, which I do believe I came up with myself, even though I can't actually say it very well. It's actually quite hard. Tetchy suit size. I think the mouth going from a E to a S is quite a difficult transition. You try it.
Tetchy suit size.
See? It's difficult.
It is, yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, I'll give you that. But what I like is the anagrams you can get out of them, because what you've got with this individual, you've got high risk, a bleep. And what's even more remarkable is the predecessor is Elizabeth Truss, actually translates to haziest bluster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I was hoping for that. And, another, just a general one. Your sound effects, absolutely fantastic. I particularly like your little people one. The long version is really, really good.
Unfortunately, I don't have that with me.
The little people.
That one, yeah.
That one, yeah. I think what I was really thinking about to start with, I phoned you last week about Pink Floyd, the Australian one.
Oh, yeah.
You asked me about, was the experience as good as the original? Well, I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I was speaking from the position of where I'm at. So I've never seen Pink Floyd live, and I realise you've been to see them. You've probably seen several times. You've seen them through various iterations.
Yeah, loads and loads.
Yeah, well, I can't comment from that point of view, but from my position and from where I'm at, my ability, it was ace. However, I wasn't in a position, say, for example, they played in Venice, and apparently it was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Nebworth was probably a time when, I think it was in the 90s they played Nebworth, and it was a mind-blowing experience. But, yeah, it was incredible. But one of the things that was getting to me is your genres and your various tastes in music. It can yo-yo all over the place. So,
yo-yo.
Pink Floyd.
Yo. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm a child of I was born in 74, so I'm a little bit younger than yourself, but I think I grew up in a great musical generation. So when I was in my formative years, it was in the 1990s, and there was some incredible stuff going around at the time, but I wasn't there at the first time for stuff like The Who, The Doors, Pink Floyd, etc. But you grow to appreciate it as you listen back over stuff that you like. So Queen was massive back in my day.
I don't know. I could never really get on with Freddie Mercury. It's no, not for me. All a bit too pompous and twiddly. I mean, there's some songs that are just great, and everybody likes the. We Will Rock You was great, and Seven Seas of Rye, and, the early stuff, and a few of the others, but listen to a whole album is a bit too overblown. It's like a dinner of 3 courses of sugar to me.
No, okay, fair enough.
I've just looked up an anagram of Rishi Sunak, and it comes up with a hunk is sir. So that's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That's way out, that is.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on that page, personally.
Yeah, all right. Okay, listen, Rick, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345, whatever that was. I have no idea. But, it took up a while, so it benefited from that. Matt says, I bet a tenner Boris walks out of the inquiry. He's going to get tetchy. There's going to be a moment when he's sitting there and he'll try on his paw, it's me, that routine, which isn't going to wash in that silent room with an expert inquisitor. He isn't going to stand for any of that, the inquisitor. And Bodger is going to, I bet he'll throw a fit. Because that's what he does. If when he's doing his act and people are applauding and they're laughing and they're just loving you, Boris, then, that everything is going fine and he's okay with that. He's used to that. He's used to the applause. But when the applause dies down, big problem, huge. Paw! Not going to work, Bodge. But I'd love to see you try. Mark says, last night you said that all the UK is any good at is music. This isn't true. We also have a world-beating delusion of grandeur. I think we've done that one, Mark. Monica says, it's only Tory old people who vote right-wing parties in. Trust me, there's plenty of us lefty oldies. Not that many, Monica. Well, I've got interesting news about the Labour Party. Britain's top polling expert has said that the Labour Party are getting it all wrong. So I'll come to that in a minute. And hold off from drinking any water. Potentially forever. Chrissy says, I fervently believe that our dictionary doesn't work, since it insists on being rigidly turbid about words such as fervid. It sadly diminishes my alacrity. This is becoming Poetry Corner, isn't it?
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Yeah! Dude!
Jim texts, this week I got some advertising for an estate agent through the door to sell my house from the very estate agent who is already selling my house. There's a huge sign with their name on outside the front door. Is anybody paying attention, or are they just going through the motions, says Jim. Yeah, hello, is this sign on? Stee texts, S-T-E. I don't know if you're aware, but Lower Bavaria has just had the biggest fall of snow for decades today. Buses, trams, trains, all cancelled. Munich airport closed. The roads are all impassable. It's impossible. It's the same as the UK after a light frost, says Steve. The new government warning came through my phone this morning. It was because of risk of death from trees falling down full of snow and deadly avalanches. Blimey. I bet it came in German, so nobody could understand a word of it. I bet in German, risk of death from trees falling down full of snow and deadly avalanches is just one word. Caroline says, one major achievement, the UK has some of the best contemporary artists and brilliant musicians who contribute 4.4% of the nation's GDP, with an all-time high of just over $1 trillion between 2020 and 2022. Well, that would be Ed Sheeran. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ed Sheeran. We appreciate it. But I do believe that you have delighted us enough. Let's have Southampton. Hello, Simon.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
I got one thing that's making me happy, one thing that's making me sad.
Right.
Which one do you want first?
Let's do the sad part first and leave the HAPPY-ness right to the end.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, I think I can't understand why, and I get very, very disheartened when I hear people talking about Brexit who, even though they may be anti-Brexit, still say that we've got to wait at least another 20 years before another referendum. The damage is happening now.
Yes.
Why can't we sort it out now?
Yeah. Because they're still waiting with their fingers crossed, hoping that all of the lies that they have bought wholesale weren't actual lies, but they were.
Well, I'm talking about people that weren't in favour of Brexit. Do you think even more reason they would want to sort it out now? And the thing that's making me sad, Nick,
yes,
very, very, very sad, is that the longer time goes on, the more of these Brexit voters, of which I'm one of them, I would like to add, who deeply regrets it. But the longer it goes on is these ones that still think they've won something, they're all popping off.
Yeah, they're falling off. They're falling off the end of life's conveyor belt.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But I want them to be around to see it reverse. I don't want them to go out thinking that they've gone out winners.
They got right. Well, I don't think they think that. Even in their wildest fantasies, I don't believe that they still believe that they are winners. No, I think that even amongst the most fervent of them, the understanding is that they have been had. They must know that.
That word, should we make a compromise on that? Because I thought maybe fervent.
No, I think you've gone too far there, Simon. But thanks for the input there, mate. Excellent work. And that's the thing that Britain's top polling expert was banging on about. Labour supporters are overwhelmingly pro-EU and want to see Keir Starmer become more positive about Europe if he becomes Prime Minister.
What?
Yeah. Britain's top polling expert, Sir John Curtis, claimed that it was a myth that voters are not interested in a future referendum on whether to reverse Brexit. And it's a mystery to me why no politician seems capable of agreeing out loud with a huge majority of the people in this country who think they've been conned by a bunch of oily spivs and con artists into doing something that was against the interests of the country, but made a few people a ton of money by betting that Brexit would be bad for the nation. You know, the donor class. Those people. I mean, the people who got us to vote leave, they've either gone abroad to spend more time with their money to avoid paying tax on it, or they never lived here in the first place. And those that haven't left are still trying to tell us that it's all going great and the benefits will come at some point in the future yet to be identified if only we believe hard enough. And anyone who says otherwise is talking the country down. The whole world's gone insane. So this is Britain's top polling expert, Sir John Curtis. He suggested that the rows over record levels of immigration experienced by the UK since leaving the EU could mean a return to free movement within the bloc is politically plausible. He said, that's what he said. Politically plausible. A return to free movement. Well, that very much depends on whether the people who voted Leave wanted to replace white Europeans with Indians and Nigerians. And as I have been told at great volume hundreds of times that they knew what they were voting for, I suppose that that's exactly what they wanted. I'm a little surprised, but, Meanwhile, Labour grandee Ed Balls says the party was too reluctant to talk about the need to build closer ties with Brussels, which is a somewhat silly way of saying that we want back in. I mean, what does closer ties mean if it doesn't mean rejoining? Unless Grandee Balls is one of those politicians who is pro having his cake and eating it.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Sir John said Labour's support was being driven primarily by voters who backed Remain in the 2016 Brexit referendum and would support the UK returning to the EU. It makes up 3/4 of Labour's backers now. 3/4 of the people who say they're going to vote Labour want back in the EU. Are you listening, Sir Keir Starmer? No. Britain's top polling expert, Sir John Curtis, said, what I think it does mean and what the party does need to understand is that if indeed it is elected into office by a predominantly pro-EU electorate, it's then got to think about how it's going to best keep that electorate when it's going to face very difficult fiscal situation, and therefore hanging on to its support could prove quite difficult. Yeah, winning the next election is going to be a piece of cake, you'd think, unless they really manage to pull a Labour Party special and screw it up. It's the election after the next one that's going to be the problem. And if the Labour leader doesn't at that point think, well, an easy turbo boost to the economy would be to rejoin, and to hell with the dwindling band of the aged and the permanently furious who bought all that guff about Brexit freedoms, then Keir Starmer will not be worthy of the post of leader of this country. And that he and pretty much everyone else in Parliament, except the Greenies, is too scared of the oldsters who voted us out is just embarrassing. The 65s and older with the Leave, who are the Leave voters, won't be voting too often in the future, owing to a thing called life expectancy. The 18 to 24-year-olds who voted, at the time, by 73% to 27% to Remain, well, they're 25 to 31 now. And the 25 to 34-year-olds who voted at the time by 62% to Remain, they're 32 to 41 years old now. I mean, the whole chart has shifted. And even those older among us have seen the light. And they don't believe all that better out nonsense, because none of the promises that were made by the Leave campaign have been shown to be anything other than fantasies. I mean, the trade deals that the government crow about aren't worth the paper they're written on. I mean, some, like the ones with Australia and New Zealand, are so bad for our farmers that the Aussies and the Kiwis couldn't believe that they got us to sign them. I mean, they actually went on the TV news down there and laughed at us. That video is still available on the World Wide Web. Have you seen the internet?
Disgusting.
And the government signed those deals because they were desperate for a headline that said Brexit success. And they were willing to accept any failure to get a headline that said Brexit success, which seems pretty unpatriotic to me. And Britain's top polling expert, Sir John Curtis, dismissed claims that voters oppose the idea of another EU referendum. He says this is one of those great myths of our time. If you actually look at the evidence, it's not that there's an overwhelming demand for a referendum, but basically the polling suggests that a majority of the people who want to be inside the EU are in favour of having a referendum within the next 5 years. He says one of the myths was, Remain voters have given up and they accept it. Well, that was the myth a couple of years ago, and we've discovered that it was a myth. I wish you would stop saying myth. It just sounds funny. I mean, even on the controversial issue of free movement of EU citizens, there could be a change of view because of the high immigration that we've currently got, allowing supporters to frame the issue as, do you prefer immigration from France and Germany and Italy, or do you prefer it from India, Pakistan and Bangladesh? Britain's top polling expert Sir John Curtis said. So what do you reckon, leavers? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Jamaica?
No.
That's what I thought. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
He thinks he looks good in a bathing suit. He doesn't.
Dude! Tessa texts, I just rejoiced because I finally succeeded in unblocking the kitchen sink. I threw my hands in the air in triumph, therefore knocking an untouched glass of red wine all over the aforementioned kitchen, including the previously unblocked sink. Nothing works anymore, says Tessa. Orpington. Hello, Luke.
Hi, Nick. Hello. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
So we have the conundrum of politics with some people who don't like Tories, some people don't like Liberal Democrats, or most people, and some people don't like Labour. So my solution to this conundrum is perhaps we should have another party where it's a mix of all of them. Whoever wants to join, they can. It's like an all-stars sort of political party.
Right.
Somehow we need to come up with a joint sort of political statements of policies, and then see how that goes in a vote. Put it on the paper and see how it goes. Because I've got a feeling if you get, like, hopefully the cream of each party, you might get a party which is slightly different, slightly more for people's party, slightly more what people want, rather than sort of like failure or no experience.
The cream of each party, yeah, you might actually get up to 5 people.
It wouldn't. Certainly we're lacking a little bit, but I just feel like we need something. I mean, people are saying, look, I don't Tories. I'm going to vote Labour because I don't Tories, and other people are saying, well, I certainly don't want Labour, and so I'm going to vote Tories, and then there's other people who just say, well, it's going to be a wasted vote if I don't vote for one of them.
I am slightly confused that people who say, oh, well, you know, it would be much worse under Labour, as though they just got born 10 years ago, and they do not remember when it was much better under Labour. I mean, everything worked better under the previous Labour government. It just did.
I think in the 10 years before that and the 10 years before that, politics was better. It had a better, better level of sort of politics.
Isn't what you're calling for a coalition of chaos?
Coalition.
Yeah.
Coalition still keeps people on the colours of parties. I'd just like to see a brand new sort of option, an option which is like, new ideas, fresh. It would be a bit of a obviously have to bow down to a few things that we don't always support. But rather than just saying one or the other, what about something in between? Best of both, if you like bread. Hovis.
Right, like a cocktail.
Hovis party, how about that?
No. But you've given us something to think about there, Luke. I just think that sounds like a coalition to me. The best of the whichever party can find enough MPs to scrabble together a coalition, which would be the Labour Party, perhaps the Lib Dems, if Nessa, and the Greenies, the groovy Greenies. And then I think you'll actually have something. It would certainly represent the feelings of the majority of the people in this country, as opposed to what we've got now, where they're representing the feelings of, where are they up to now? Like 25% or something like that? And that's regardless of the people that wouldn't vote. Those are just people who are answering a question on a phone. Ignoring the part about actually putting your hat, coat, scarf and gloves on and going down to the school or the church or wherever it is near you. It should be easier, apart from anything else. I mean, if you can bank on your phone, then why can't you vote? But you've given us something to think about there, Luke. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Andy says Kiss is doing its last show in New York tonight after 50 years in the business. They assure us that this is their last concert this time. I saw them earlier in the year in Glasgow, but not for the first time, says Andy. Kiss. I don't know. They got a few good songs right enough, but it's a bit silly, isn't it? I mean, a lot of rock is silly, but they've taken silly and turned it up to 11. Hey, by the way, I think they're doing a new Spinal Tap film.
What?
Yeah, and a new Spinal Tap film being made, I believe, with much of the original cast, which I'm not entirely... Well, if it's great, it's great, I suppose. But the first one was so perfect. I mean, it was so brief. It's about 1 hour 10. It's something like that. It's like a long documentary rather than an actual film. I mean, most comedies last about 1 hour 20 because it's very difficult to write. Apparently, it's very difficult to write more than an hour of funny. And so a comedy will last an hour and 20, but the last 20 minutes won't be funny. That's most comedies. They'll do the funny part at the beginning, and then they'll remember right at the end that, we sort of run out of comedy material, and furthermore, we must wrap up the storyline, as though anybody actually cares about the storyline. So that's the last 20 minutes of most comedy films, not funny, wrapping up loose ends. And which I think they avoided in Spinal Tap by just lopping off 10 minutes and thinking, oh, to hell with it, it's just going to be 70 minutes long, and then people are going to have to put up with it. But they're making another one. I'm not sure that's a great idea, but we'll find out, I suppose. Prague, Ian.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'm just calling because actually two or three things.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is I'm looking to move to Scotland, and it just caused me to think with the polls, they could be wrong. We could be in like a Neil Kinnock situation where all the polls were saying he was going to win, and then it turned out, in fact, John Major won. If you, hypothetically, I know you're not like me, you stayed in the UK, would you then consider leaving, and where would you go in the world, theoretically? So that was the first thing I was just curious about.
But your question is, if the Conservatives win the next general election...
will you ditch it and just go?
Right, where am I buying a ticket to?
Right.
Yeah,
theoretically.
No, I'm stuck here. I like here. I just have to put up with it, I suppose.
Okay. And the second thing was just some cinematic. Well, it's subjective, obviously, but I went and saw the film Napoleon. Have you seen it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Don't waste your money on IMAX. I went to IMAX, and it was not worth the money. It's a good film. It's fine. But for the first 20 minutes, Joaquin Phoenix says nothing. And then, very strangely, Miles Jupp was in it. Rupert Everett's in it, who I didn't even know was still kicking. And there's a very small battle at the end. It's not, and it's very, yeah.
Who is Miles Jupp? Because I know Mickey Jupp, because he's an old rock and roller. He did an absolutely fantastic song called My Typewriter. But nobody remembers who Mickey Jupp is. He was one of those old Stiff Records artists in the 1970s, I want to say. And he released an album on Stiff that was just absolutely chock full of the most perfect pop songs, but nobody can recall. I mean, I've never heard of him before or since, Mickey Jupp. But who's Miles Jupp?
He was on. There was a short-lived show called The Reverend with on BBC.
No, I don't know.
And then he's on BBC Radio a lot. Like he's on Have I Got a Clue?
I don't know that.
You know that. Well, there's a lot of people you'll see. You'll be like, "Oh, I saw them on Poirot."
Yeah.
So anyway, if you see it, it's fine, but it's also it's not worth IMAX.
And the main, I mean, you can get into an ordinary cinema in the afternoon for less than a tenner, which is about my speed. But IMAX is more than double that, isn't it? So it's like, forget that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no. Just to look at Joaquin Phoenix looking very pensive and kind of
He's the fellow that played the Joker in The Joker.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But for his first 20 minutes, he doesn't say anything.
Right. Okay.
He looks very nervous, and he's got a split stomach. So,
right.
There you go.
Well, don't tell me what happens in the end, because I want it to be a surprise. All right.
It involves Waterloo, but no, I won't say anything. Okay.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot, Ian. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. No, I'm not going anywhere. I like it here. Plus I don't really speak another language very well, and I know where everything is. So, yeah, I'm stuck here, regardless of who wins the next election. Simon says, I'm sure that the original Jumbo Johnson was in the old Dandy comics, also known as General Jumbo. He had a miniature remote-controlled army. Do you also remember this? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Jumbo Johnson in the old Dandy comics. Well, I mean, the Beano and the Dandy were part of my childhood, but I don't remember that. Desperate Dan, I remember. Now, there's a man who was interested in having his cake and eating it.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Or his pie, actually, to be more accurate. Guildford. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
This COVID inquiry, although it's quite interesting, but what I want to know is, with Bodger and Matt Hancock and that, one, when are they going to start talking about the dodgy PPE and all that?
Yeah.
But two, what's going to happen? Is it going to be, we've got to learn lessons. Lessons must be learned.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to face some kind, I don't know what, but some kind of punishment of some sort?
Well, not from this. They may, legal beagles may have an eye on it, and they're making copious notes in order to take them, sue certain individuals into a black hole in space later, but no one's going to get slammed up or have the chains put on them as a result of this particular inquiry. No.
No. It's just, I don't know what with the dodgy PPE and all that, it was so crooked, But this government as well, I mean, it's so rotten, it's so disgusting, really. But when can we, does Rishi Sunak really think that if he delays the election, that somehow or another, people are going to say, what a great guy, we'll vote for him.
Yeah.
When in God's name is that man going to get some guts about him and call an election so we can throw this lot out?
Peter, imagine what it is like to be Titchy suit size. he's just wafted through life on a perfumed cloud of loveliness, and no one has ever said no to him. So this is unexplored territory for him. People actually criticising him, which is why he sits there and he gets so tetchy. He's got that tetchy little look on his tetchy little face, and he just can't stand it when people actually question him because it's never happened before.
That is absolutely right. I've noticed in these interviews now, I think I can't remember whether it was Nick Ferrari, but when he spoke about the nurses and he said, well, of course, your union's on strike and all. You could see the nasty side coming out.
Yeah.
It's like a scratch card. You scratch it and the nasty person's underneath.
Yeah.
Unlike Cruella.
Yeah, scratch and sniff. Unlike Cruella, who wore the nastiness on her sleeve and her front, her back, and on her shoes and everywhere, yeah.
But it's so blatantly obvious that they're a party of the rich, for the rich, by the rich. You know? And
what's weird, though, let me just stop you there. It's a party by the rich, for the rich, and what was the other one? Of the rich.
Oh, I forgot.
Of the rich. But it's been voted into place by the poor. That's actually true. They are a party of the rich, for the rich, voted into power by the poor.
I know, that was mainly the Brexit thing, It was just they got captivated with it, but nationalism. But it's just such a... I don't know what I can say, but it's such a...
Don't say it.
Horrible, I'll say horrible. It's such a horrible government. And all they're interested in is looking after the interests of people who already...
Yeah.
I mean, I heard
the
other
donor
day...
class.
I heard the other day, I don't know whether it's true or not, that people on benefits and so on, they want to look in their bank accounts and things like that.
Correct.
I mean, my God, who's it going to be next?
You're on the list, Peter. They're coming for you.
Exactly. All they're finding is a penny in there, so I'm not really worried.
I would draw your curtains and lock your door.
Yeah, but, I've been in hospital recently, and I've been talking to a lot of nurses, and what people have got to realise is I know I've changed the subject, but they go on about immigrants. Without the immigrants, the NHS wouldn't work.
Yeah, this country wouldn't work.
And also, they're working 12.5-hour days. And I said to them, what do you do when you get home? What kind of life do you have?
Yeah.
And they said, we just have supper and go to bed.
Go to bed, yeah.
And because I bring it up, and when you get talking to them, there's not one of them that's happy. They feel under pressure. They feel scared. There's always a shortage of staff.
Yep.
And I just thought I'd give them a shout out because despite all that, they were terrific. Absolutely. They treated me like, like I would. They looked after me well after a serious illness, But 12.5-hour days. And student nurses, they don't get paid at all.
Hey?
Student nurse told me that they don't get paid at all if they're a student nurse.
That can't be true.
Well, that's what I was told.
Are you sure you weren't on drugs at the time?
Well, I was. I was on painkillers, yeah. So I caught a weird this thing called Guillain-Barré syndrome. And what it means is your immune system attacks itself in the nerves and you go paralysed.
Well, you want to ease up on yourself there, Peter.
Yeah.
Stop beating yourself up so much. All right, listen, I've got to go, but we appreciate the nurses.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially if they're not getting paid. I find that kind of hard to believe. But yes, the government is peering into your bank accounts. Lord Prem Sikka, the Labour peer, he was talking about this. I might give you a flavour of what it is that he wrote about that shortly. Have I done the break yet? I don't think I have.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What number are you calling from?
0345 6060 973. Well, as that last bloke did mention this, I'll give you a flavour of a column that Lord Prem Sikka, the Labour peer, wrote in the Left Foot Forward organ. It says, George Orwell's iconic novel 1984 warns of a dystopian world where the party or the government undermines people's rights. Constant surveillance is a key weapon for disciplining people and shaping their minds. That world has arrived in the UK. He says the latest weapon is the Data Protection and Digital Information Bill, which puts the bank accounts of 22.4 million people under constant surveillance. In true Orwellian doublespeak, the government claims that the bill allows the country to realise new post-Brexit freedoms. Wow. The bill uses developments in electronic transactions and artificial intelligence to place the poor, disabled, sick, old and pregnant women under surveillance. It gives ministers and government agencies powers to direct businesses, particularly banks and financial institutions, to mass monitor individuals receiving welfare payments, even when there is no suspicion or any sign of fraudulent activity. No court order is needed, and affected individuals will not be informed. You won't know it's happening. The bill also enables ministers to make any further regulations without a vote in Parliament. Oh my God, this is a dictatorship now. The bill was passed by the House of Commons. A Labour Party spokesmodel said, "We support the bill," and the party abstained on the vote. It will now come to the Lords.
Oh, no.
Well, we have the Lords to help us out on this situation. Fingers crossed. The new surveillance powers are to be applied to around 22.4 million people claiming a variety of benefits. The UK has 12.6 million recipients of the state pension, and many retirees claim means-tested benefits because the state pension's too low to live on. So retirees, too, are included in these people subject to surveillance. And it's supposedly to crack down on benefit fraud. And how prevalent is benefit fraud? Well, the government's estimate is that benefit fraud was 2.7% of the total fraud against the government. 2.7%. That's what they're concentrating on. Any government serious and even-handed about tackling fraud would extend surveillance to arenas other than just benefits, but it doesn't. Billions of pounds have been lost due to government-related frauds in pandemic management, COVID loans, contracts for cronies, but none of those individuals are under financial surveillance. There's no surveillance of legislators, as in MPs, who accept payments to advance the interests of their corporate paymasters. There's no surveillance of the bank accounts of bankers engaged in illicit financial flows. The defence industry has a long history of engaging in bribery and corruption to secure contracts, but its bank accounts are not subject to surveillance. Energy companies do the same, but neither theirs nor their directors' bank accounts are subject to surveillance. Since 2010, HMRC has failed to collect between £450 billion and £1,500 billion of taxes due to evasion, avoidance and errors. Most avoidance schemes are designed and marketed by bankers, accountants and lawyers, but the bill doesn't put their bank accounts under surveillance. Major accounting firms are central to concocting abusive avoidance schemes, but none of their bank accounts are subject to surveillance. The government blames the working class for social ills without addressing any of the underlying social problems. The scapegoating of the working class is carefully wrapped in claims about Brexit opportunities and fraud prevention. And people are constantly told that they must sacrifice their liberties and freedoms for the greater good of society. And the government thinks this will somehow make people forget about the harsh realities of 7.8 million waiting lists for NHS hospital treatment, hungry children, crumbling schools, the cost of living, poverty and economic failures. All hail the dear leader. I don't recognise this country anymore. How about you? Nottingham. Hello, Anne. Anne? Oh, Anne.
Hello?
Yes,
hello,
Anne.
Sorry.
There you are.
Hi, yes. I'm a student nurse. I just wanted to let you know that, in fact, we don't get paid.
You don't get paid?
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a Master's in Mental Health Nursing. We spend 6 months of the year on placement. And we do a 38.5-hour week on placement on wards or in community teams. And we don't get paid at all for that. In fact, we pay for the privilege. we pay fees to the university.
Right.
And we don't get any money at all.
So...
I know it's hard to believe.
How do you manage to eat then? Most
people get a student loan. There is a loan available to do a nursing course. They There's also the Learning Support Fund, which pays about £5,000 or £6,000 a year. Unfortunately, I don't qualify for any of that because I already have a master's degree.
So how long do you have to go without being paid until you become a person that gets paid for their work?
The master's is 2 years, the bachelor's is 3 years.
So are you saying 5?
No. If you just do the bachelor's, you only need that to get your PIN to become a nurse.
Okay.
So that would be a 3-year course, but I'm doing the 2-year course, so it's 2 years for me. So I saved for several years to be able to do this course. I'm absolutely desperate to be a nurse, but I had to save for about 5 or 6 years before I was able to actually afford to live whilst also studying. And it just seems crazy to me when the country is crying out for nurses. We actually have to pay to do it and not get paid.
I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. This is from the UK Parliament website. There are currently no plans to pay students while on their undergraduate nursing degree courses mandatory clinical placement. The government acknowledges and appreciates the unique characteristics of nursing courses and greatly values student nurses' contributions to our NHS.
Thank you.
It says. They greatly value it, but not in monetary terms.
That's it. I mean, it's a bit like the claps during the pandemic, isn't it? It's all well and good to be told that we're appreciated, but claps don't pay the bills, and feeling valued and appreciated doesn't buy groceries for me.
Have you tried that? Like checking
with claps?
Yeah.
Our security escorted me out when I tried, unfortunately.
Did they? Right. Well, we appreciate your efforts, Anne. I can't believe it, but, that's...
it's outrageous, isn't it? I can only hope that when the next Labour government gets in, fingers crossed, please everybody go to the polls, that something will change, but my hopes are not very high.
Right. Well, mine either, but, it can only get better, I guess.
Yes, let's hope.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot, Anne. I'm surprised on several levels. One, that I don't know that. Because they're doing a job, right? I mean, they're not just standing around taking notes, seeing what other nurses are doing. They're, they're doing the swabbing and the wiping.
Disgusting.
And they're doing it for nothing. Wow.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Shut up.
I can't. 0345 6060 973. Sue says, I went to the first final Rolling Stones tour at the O2 about 20 years ago and I bought the T-shirt. Do they understand what the word final is? Or do they know that we relics of the 60s really do want to see them on their real final tour and will keep on until they die, says Sue. And Aisling says, I'm not sure what to think about Ipswich. People cycle all over the footpaths, right into you. It smells like weed everywhere. There are ice cream trucks in December. Well, that'll be the weed. I'm very confused. That'll probably be the weed as well. However, I must say, most of the retail workers are much kinder than London, says Aisling. Well, I noticed that as well. When you leave London and go to a store in some other place, people are, I don't know if kinder is the right word, but they're slower. The pace of life is just slower. And, you're if you're used to a London pace, and I'm sure the same is true in Manchester and Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh and so on, then you sort of get a bit like itchy feet. You're standing in a queue at the post office and the people at the front are just chit-chatting away, passing the hours of the day, and you want to get in and get out. But that's not what their life is like. Everything's just calmer. And I quite like that. 0345 6060 973. Here's Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jan.
How are you?
I am great, mate.
Yeah. I mean, you have been. I've noticed you've been breaking into singing quite a lot these days, which is.
I apologise.
I'm very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
No, you have a lovely voice. It's a sound of happy. Of being happy.
Happiness. I can't help it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's well. Maybe you're not aware that you have such a nice singing voice.
Okay, if you say so.
Anyway,
thanks, Jan.
So I'm ringing up about a couple of things. I just wondered have you got strong feelings about whether you have a real Christmas tree or a plastic tree?
Yes, I have very, very strong feelings.
What have you got?
My entire life, I was always totally against fake trees. And then I bought a house, and pretty much the one thing that the guy left behind was this badly wrapped up fake tree, which I was going to throw into a skip, but the skip got too full and I couldn't fit it in it, so I was going to have to take it to the dump. And I thought, well, I'll just put it up and see what it's like. And it is fan-bloomin-tastic. And it's
you haven't got any
huge.
Warriors around there sort of chaining themselves to your tree.
I missed all of that. The tree is huge. It's like 8 feet tall, and it's got a great shape. And the thing with a fake tree is that you can put it up early, and it doesn't sag, and it will take a heavy bauble, whereas a real tree will just sink under the weight of them. And I am completely changed now. I'm totally convinced that fake is the way to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, is it indoors or you keep it indoors?
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep it indoors.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they say, that's the way people are going in some ways. I think John Lewis has done I don't know, there's thing they call it, they're saying that they believe more people are getting artificial trees. I didn't know they were made of plastic until a few days ago. I never thought about what they were made of.
Yeah,
but
it's a positive use for the oil that we take out of the ground.
So they're now selling scented tree hangers for artificial trees so you can get them to smell of pine.
Right. Do they also sell bags of needles that you can just scatter on the carpet and you're still finding them in Easter?
Well, they're saying that some people buy 2 trees. They have an artificial tree and the second one for hanging presents on.
Right. Well, I used to buy 2 trees, one for the tree and one to cut up to put, here, there and everywhere, baby, just as like a garland.
Oh, well,
But not no more. That's not me no more. I've got no idea what a real tree costs these days, but I expect it's too blooming much. Get yourself a fake tree and then you'll never have to buy one again.
Well, I was thinking, I feel rather sad after Christmas because after a couple of weeks, even the houses with big gardens at the back, they're buying the huge trees, but then they're all scattered on the pavement to be taken away and shot, to be composted or whatever they do with them. And, like abandoned on the pavement, the high street, all around.
Yeah, don't do that. If you must buy an actual tree, buy a living tree in a pot and then put it in the ground, which is what I did one year, and it grew into an absolute monster.
What did you do with it then?
I put it in the ground.
Oh, and okay. Well, yeah, you've moved. So, yeah. Well, I might get one. I keep meaning to get one to plant in the garden, my share of the garden. Anyway, in the company. But
well,
Nick,
you better get on with it, Jan, because all of the best ones will be gone.
Yeah. So, yeah. But Nick,
what?
I found out. I've always thought I knew what the robin sounded like.
The what?
The song of the robin.
What robin?
This is about birds now. This is my second point. The song of the robin. Yeah, I always thought it had one song because I always thought they got quite a sweet-sounding song.
Yeah, they do.
But apparently they've got different songs. They have a different song in winter.
Yeah, different songs for different times. That's my favourite.
Have that, and they've each they're so territorial. Their songs. They've got loads of variations in songs. I have to. They're
fighty little things. You often see them with like feathers sticking out because they've been in another dust-up.
Oh, yes. They're very territorial.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
And the song is more to do with... But I didn't realise...
I mean, we think they're all cute and nice and, they bounce after us in the garden, hoping that we'll unearth a worm for them, and we find that charming. But other robins see them as an enormous threat. And imagine what it must like to be a worm. Anyway, Jan, I got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Glenn says, have you told us about the water issue yet? No, not yet. I'm not entirely sure that you really want to hear it. Because once heard, you might never forget it. and you might decide to never drink anything again. But I'll try and squeeze it in before the end. But first, I have to get through some of these calls. How do these people get my number? Why can't they just leave me alone? Milton Keynes. Hello, Paul.
Hello there, Nick. How you doing?
Hello there, Paul.
Great to meet you. In great shape. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Right. Basically, I just wanted to talk about the ridiculous churn of Tory ministers we've had since 20, whenever it was, really.
Yes.
It's been ridiculous. I mean, there's been people there. Grant Shapps, for instance, in the last year and a half, has been Home Secretary, Business Secretary, Energy Secretary, and Defence Secretary.
Yeah.
So is he no good at all of those, or is he just needed in another place?
He's excelled at every single one. Yeah.
Michelle Donnellan. Do you remember her?
Well, I know the name.
She was there for 2 days as Education Secretary.
Wow.
5th of July to the 7th of July, 2022.
Right, almost enough to learn her multiplication table.
It's also my birthday this Thursday. So
your birthday?
I needed to hear that, thank you very much. And then going over to the Home Secretary, James Cleverly had his dream job, you remember, Foreign Secretary, travelling all around the world, being treated like someone really important.
Yes.
And he got chucked into Cruella Doberman's job. And he's already got his immigration minister chasing us to hell.
I know, it's an absolute... it is an absolute clown show.
Absolutely.
And there's no point in learning any of their names because they'll be changed tomorrow.
There's just so many of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And just when you think they couldn't possibly get any worse, they find a way to make that happen. Keep your eyes peeled, Paul. Make notes. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Ruben says, the Brexit bus should have said, we send 350 million euros a week. Let's give it to DHL instead. I'm out of pocket this Christmas because of all of the customs charges that I've had to pay to receive gifts.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. There's a Swiss company that makes nice T-shirts, so I thought I'll treat myself because, I've been a good boy, I have. And I'll treat myself to a T-shirt. Why not? To get the T-shirt to here would cost in postage 50 euros. What? 50 euros. It would cost more in postage than it costs to buy the T-shirt. To here. From Switzerland. Postage to the EU, 0. Another Brexit benefit. So I get nothing. 0345 6060 973. Glasgow. Hello, Chrissy.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Hi, you sound all bouncy tonight, and amongst all the catastrophe
I know.
in the news and stuff.
I'm keeping my chin up.
Yeah, I'm keeping several line up. The student nurses thing.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the lady that you had call in, she's doing a Master's in Mental Health Nursing. That's exactly the same one I did. I did the 2-year course. And you have to still do the same amount of practice hours for both. It's a statutory requirement of the registration. So if you do the 3-year degree, you still have to do the same number of hours as the 2-year.
I can't believe that you don't get paid. I mean, apprentices get paid, don't they?
Yeah. 2,400 hours of practice time is a statutory requirement for a student nurse to complete alongside their studies. 2,400 hours. And the 12-hour shifts are typical of doing that. And you are held pretty much as accountable as any other nurse. It's a fallacy to think, well, if you make a mistake, the person that's in charge of you will get their neck in the block. Yeah. No, not necessarily. I mean, if you hand medication, the wrong medication to a parent, you're in a patient, you're in the firing line. So it's a huge amount of responsibility. Yeah. And when you qualify, you have to pay £120 a year registration fee to remain on the register to be a nurse. So you have to pay for the privilege to be a nurse. It's absolutely insane, but I just wanted to back up what the lady was saying.
Right.
She put it very succinctly, but I thought the 2,400 hours I would make you aware of. That's all I
can't believe it. That's 60 weeks. 60.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, for nothing.
And yeah, exactly. And the bank account surveillance thing is just blowing my mind. I just can't believe that that's not a bigger thing. That terrifies me.
Yeah, I mean, it just came and went and nobody paid the slightest bit of attention. And it's going to the Lords now. And it comes to something in this country when we've got our fingers crossed, hoping that the Lords are going to actually sort things out to our benefit. Because you'd think it would be the other way around, that the Lords would wave through, the stuff that is just appropriate for landowners and the gentry. But they're our last hope now.
Oh, God, the Sherry Brigade. What are we going to do with that lot? Honestly, bank account surveillance, that terrifies me. I mean, as somebody who's reliant on benefits, that now makes me feel even worse because I think, are they going to be keeping an eye on what I spend it on?
Yeah, and keep in mind that they have now allowed themselves the ability to do that in order to counteract 2.7% of the problem of fraud in this country. The 97.8%, they get a pass. That's no problem. That's, for as far as the regime are concerned, then no further investigation is required.
Well, if they're going to put AI to good use to be able to do this kind of thing, they're going about it all the wrong way. They'd be better with boots on the ground. Traditional methods of perhaps giving people jobs to be able to see people face to face, look at their lives. But the AI and the algorithms, that could come up with anything. I mean, that could come up with, I don't know. I'm just really worried that they're going to uncover my cocaine operation. I'm quite a lot. So it's going
keep it between friends, Chrissy, and certainly don't advertise it. Don't say any of that stuff out loud, whatever you do. Cheers, my dear. Gotta go.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
We're running late.
Bill texts, whisper it ever so quietly, but trainee nurses in Northern Ireland still receive a bursary while studying, unlike the rest of the UK. On the other hand, Julia says, you are not a nurse until you qualify. You are being taught. As any student is not paid at university for being taught, you're under a mentor's wing and supervision. You do not work independently. You have to have permission to administrate meds. That's why you're not paid, says Julia. Yeah, but if I was an apprentice on a government apprenticeship scheme, learning how to chop wood, I'd get paid. And Mick says, at some point over the last 40 years, we changed from the government having to earn the trust of the people to the people having to earn the trust of the government. When and how did we let that happen?
I can't comment on that.
Yeah, I think that the rot set in around about the time that Mr. Blobby hoved interview.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
0345 6060 973. Now, who's been waiting the longest? Let me be totally fair about this. It looks to me like Ealing. Hello, Sandy.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say,
Madam.
you think we were living in a third world country?
Yes, which one?
Yeah, somewhere out in the deep Sahara somewhere.
Right.
Yet the poorest people and the illest people who are on benefits they're going after. Yet for the richest who fiddle their taxes, they let them get away with it.
They get a pass. Quite right, too.
This country is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace, yeah.
The government should be ashamed, but they have no shame.
They have no
All it's
shame.
about is money for themselves and their mates.
Makes the world go round.
And they've bankrupted this country in every way.
Shape and form. No, you are completely correct in every respect, Sandy.
Okay, keep up the good work.
I absolutely will not do that. Cheers, my dear. I don't... It's not a request show. Bill says... Oh, no, I've read that. Donna says... Nick, as a care worker through 2020 until 2021, I was subject to that this government enforced. I was subject to that this government enforced. After infected with COVID 3 times and suffering the financial impact from the ill health, I'm now classed as unfit for work due to long-time COVID and about to be forced into work. You can't make it up. The failures of this government are the pandemic, says Donna. Some of that made sense. Appreciate it, Donna. Good effort. Let's see now. Now, I want to do the water thing. You aren't going to like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Nick.
Yes, sir.
You're right.
I am great, yes.
Okay. I've got to say hello to that earlier caller, Nick, who said... not Rick, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, Rick. Thanks for your plug for me.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but go on.
He says he loves loads of your callers, and you said you didn't know which ones they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you, when you was younger, did you watch that film with David Carradine called Death Race 2000?
I do. I probably did watch it, but I can't remember anything about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out here, what it was. They was having a race, right? And if you knocked a pensioner over, you got 2,000 points. It was one of those.
Yeah.
It was like
a precursor to a video game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, and it was real, like, I mean, that's the way that something like Bodger Johnson and all these lot could sit down and think, right, how can we get rid of these pensioners to stop the budget? Yeah.
You get points for pensioners. Right. What do pensioners make? Points. Yeah.
Points, yeah. Right. This thing about, I've been listening to the radio all day while I've been at work, and I watch the news a little bit, right? It's like when a new film's going to come out, yeah? And they show these trailers and everything. They're on about this Boris Johnson bloke coming in and he's going to be doing this, he's going to do that, yeah?
Yeah.
You know what? If he's going to apologise, yeah, and I'm sure, his aides listen to your show and all the shows on most of the radio stations, yeah?
Sure.
Right, Bodger Johnson, in his aides, if you're listening, right, if he's sincere and he's going to apologise, yeah, look at the bloke that you're talking to, mate, and say to him, right, I'm really sorry, I've done wrong, I've made mistakes, and what I'm prepared to do is I'm going to go into exile for 5 years, yeah, for 5 years, right, I am not
all of the money I earn in the meantime, I will give to student nurses who are under tremendous pressure,
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you slightly there, okay? I'm going to go into it. There'll be no more articles in the paper. There will be no more reports in the newspaper. Nothing at all about me. What I'm going to get from my salary, I will live on that, right? And after another 10 years, I will come back in and I'll do it. If he does the 10 years, I'll say, yes, he was genuinely sorry for the mistakes he's made. Because everything Boris Johnson ever does in his life, since he was a child...
is furthering the interests of Boris Johnson. Yeah, I know. It sounds like you've really given that a lot of thought, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of time. But thanks for that. Appreciate it. John says, I walked into a new shoe shop today in Inverness and 4 staff members said hello to me in the space of walking just 10 metres. I nearly collapsed in shock. Having lived in London for years, it's just not what we're used to. It's lovely to see, though. Yeah, it's just a slower pace of life. And people nod at each other when they pass on the street.
What?
Yeah, well, you try that going along Oxford Street and you get locked up. Plus, it would be exhausting. And Jim says, Sir Starmer avoids criticism. He will not say anything the press or his opponents might not like. He will dismiss anyone from Labour if they don't fully agree with him. He supports a large amount of Tory policy and has promised not to reform anything if elected. Just saying, says Jim. Yeah, but those are the options that we got, Jim. Don't wait for the perfect party to come along. Just pick the least bad option. And now, right, you're not going to like this, a substance found in hundreds of drinking water samples across England has been categorised as carcinogenic by the World Health Organization, the WHO. Who? The move will increase pressure on the UK government to take action on forever chemicals. Yeah, no, it won't. Perfluorooctanoic acid is one of the 10,000 or so chemicals within the family of substances that are used in a wide range of products, including but not limited to cosmetics, clothing, food, packaging, as well as industrial processes and in firefighting foams. You're drinking firefighting foam. Studies have linked this family of chemicals to cancers, immunodeficiencies, reproductive harms and developmental effects in children. They're not easily metabolized by the body, so they build up in humans and animals over time. They're called forever chemicals because they're chemicals and they last forever. Perfluorooctanoic acid has been linked to cancer for some time, but a growing body of evidence means it's now been upgraded to Category 1.
Warning, warning.
Which means it's carcinogenic to humans, according to the World Health Organization. A recent report from the Drinking Water Inspectorate shows that approximately 12,000 samples taken from drinking water sources in this country contain at least one of these perfluorooctanoic acids. And you probably think, so what? There can't be very much of it in our caring water companies' water because they would have got rid of it, no matter the costs to their profits and dividends and management bonuses. But no, the highest concentration of perfluorooctanoic acid detected in a drinking water source was 149 nanograms a litre. That's 1.5 times the Drinking Water Inspectorate's maximum limit for tap water. Earlier this year, The Guardian and Watershed Investigations found that effluent from the site of a chemicals company flowing into a protected river in Lancashire contained extremely high levels of perfluorooctanoic acid. The government has been accused of dragging its feet over taking action on these chemicals compared with the EU, which is considering stricter regulation across all 10,000 or so of these forever chemicals. It's another Brexit benefit. Freedom! We don't need these lefty liberals in the EU telling us our water causes fish to swim upside down and human babies to have 3 eyes. These are British fish and British babies and are all the better and happier for it. Ain't that right, Smug?
I don't know anything.
England's behind the EU on drinking water limits. The British Drinking Water Inspectorate allows 25 times as much of this stuff in our water as they do in Denmark, for instance. Danish people, always so perfect. And the experts? Well, the Royal Society of Chemistry called on the government to reduce the maximum allowable level. But as these people are experts and they know what they're talking about, no one was remotely interested in anything they had to say. And do I get any credit for being able to say perfluorooctanoic acid? No.
No.
Even though I said it multiple times without screwing it up. You're welcome. 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 You're welcome.